What's good, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of Shahs and Kings. This is your boy Shaheen, always out here with Keith D'Alessio and Weapon X. And today we're going to let Keith introduce the topic of discussion today.
Yeah. So, in the wake of Chadwick Boseman's death, which is unfortunate and
Yeah.
nobody saw coming, um, I was thinking we could do a reflection on heroes
Hmm.
and how we use them to motivate and inspire us and what they mean to us personally. So, Shaheen, you want to kick us off with that?
Sure. Um, well, I mean, like, I think cultures and societies for thousands of years have been using stories, mythological heroes to kind of guide them, right? And that's how, in many ways, like that's how religion is made, right? Like Jesus is a hero, right? And then like people start to worship him. And then if you go way before Jesus, like even like the Persian society, right? Like when we had Zoroastrianism, there was a lot of mythology tied to that, and we there's always like this concept of good versus evil, and uh, people that we put on a pedestal, right? And in my culture, we talk about there's different stories written. I mean, most likely fictional, but we talk about Rostam, right, who's a character in the Book of Kings. We talk about a guy named Dune, right? Like these people always tend to be like examples that people look up to, and then over the years, it always advances. So then like come to the 20th century, now we have superheroes and we have people wearing capes and masks and we love them. And I definitely, like a lot of people have a dim negative view on like the idea of superheroes because they think, oh, well, like they're fictional, they're not obviously real, but obviously any thinking human being knows that. And it's really like what you take out of their stories. Everyone knows you can't fly. Everyone knows you can't shoot webs out of your wrists and whatnot. But it's more about the symbology, the symbolism, right? So
I
I
don't know.
think
I
it's
like that word, Shaheen. Symbology. It's a good one.
symbology.
We should
Coin.
keep
I
that.
should coin that. Yeah, yeah. I think with Chadwick Boseman dying, and there goes Black Panther. I think that's tragic because you have one community in America that's been disenfranchised and for hundreds of years, and they've been basically forced to look up to white superheroes and people that don't look like them, people they can't really relate to, people, you know what I mean? Like, sure, like they could like learn some things from like Spider-Man and Batman and Superman and whatnot, but it's different when you have a guy that looks like you up there wearing like a vibranium suit, and like he's like a king of like this ancient African empire. Like to so many people, that's inspiring to see that on screen. And I feel like, like it got taken away from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So for me, I mean, I completely agree as far as like representation goes and everything. People need not necessarily superheroes who look like them, but who come from a similar background or similar situations where they can relate to and use as a way to inspire them to do better or improve themselves in some way. Um, I mean, I can go in because I'm such a ridiculous number of things. I can go into like different, all my different cultures, different heroes, not necessarily superheroes, but there's gods and like Robin Hood, King Arthur, Cahulan.
Right.
There's a bunch of different people that, whether they were real or not, are used as most often composite stories of different real people into
Right.
one character.
They don't
As a,
necessarily have to be superheroes.
exactly right,
Right.
and like like the first, we can call it superhero movie or superhero book, I should say, slash hero's journey story, Gilgamesh, right? The original.
Mm.
You got a god who basically becomes a man through his journey of self development. Basically, it's that's a classic. And
Yeah.
then you have actually that's the oldest one I can think of off the top of my head. You got Beowulf in like Scandinavia. That's a really old
Now, what
story.
time period was Gilgamesh?
I'm actually not sure when that was supposed to
Yeah,
be.
any shit's
Um,
old.
it's very old though.
That's
The story
ancient.
is
Yeah,
very old.
Isn't that almost like Sumerian?
Yes. Yep.
I
Sumerian.
thought it
So
If
was
it's
Babylonian.
probably like 4,000 BC around
Oh
there. I'd
shit.
imagine.
Yeah.
yeah, it might actually predate the Persian Empire if that's the case, because I know the Sumerians were around prior to that.
Yeah.
Is at first one of the first ancient civilizations. They're no longer around, but
No.
you know,
Well, you had the
it's modern day Iraq.
Sumerians. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Assyrians, and then the Persians, basically. So it's
Mhm.
like.
Yeah, the guy that I was on vacation with just this past week and a half, he's a Syrian. So
Oh
you
shit.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
he's descended. He's a descendant of that empire, which we
So
eventually
like
took from them.
that's always interested in me
Yeah.
though. Like, right, that always interests me because, like a lot of Iranians, like they call themselves Persians, right? Like we call ourselves Persians. Do Syrians do the same thing with themselves? Like, do they say, "Oh, we're a Syrian," or do they just say, "I'm Syrian"? You know what I mean?
Well, with the Syrians, they definitely distinguish themselves. Well, first of all, there's Syrians that are actually from the country of Syria that are Arab descendants. And then you've got Assyrians, which are actually descendants of the Assyrian Empire, which came after the Babylonians and before the Persians. And those people are actually of an ancient heritage as well, but they just no longer have a kingdom of their own or a nation. But they still represent a culture. They have their own language. They speak
So it's not based
Aramaic,
on modern.
and they
I
have a
actually did.
flag.
Mm. Oh, Shaheen, you're muted.
Yeah, I think your audio went out, Shaheen.
Sec.
But there he goes.
There you go.
Am I back? All right,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Syria is not based on modern Syria.
No, not at all.
Okay, I see. Like, you learn something new every day. See, that's why we have this podcast. Yeah. So back to heroes though. Yeah, Farnoosh, like, do you have any like insight on that? Did you look up to any like kind of heroes when you were growing up, whether it be superheroes or like epic tales, ancient tales of the Persian Empire or whatever it may be?
Well, I definitely was heavy into comic books when I was younger, so I definitely looked at
Nice.
a lot of superheroes in general. But more so like throughout history too. Even though those aren't comic books per se, when you look at the way that prophets are portrayed, or certain people within, you know, different holy books, they're also portrayed as, in the same way in the superheroes. They're people who did great, grandiose things that perform miracles that say the average person couldn't do. And
Mm.
I think a lot of the reason they're written that way is back to what you guys were discussing earlier. It's to inspire, it's to go ahead and give people something to aspire to be
Right.
better individuals, better human beings, and to let them know that, someone that is amongst them, because usually superheroes or people that are considered heroes within a culture are tied within their own heritage and so forth. Somebody amongst them that they look to as being great and something that they can aspire to be and be proud of. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, like many ways, like that's how religion is made. And it starts off with good intentions, and then it just like a downward spiral, right? Like when you say like Jesus walked on water, or when you say like Jesus came back to life, um, you can take
Mhm.
the literal interpretation of that, but then you might be missing out the point where I just think, like many people interpret that metaphorically. Like even me, I'm not Christian whatsoever, but I like that story. You know what I mean? And by the way, I'm sure that I'm sure like the whole Jesus resurrecting thing is stolen from ancient religions that came before Christianity. I'm like 99.9% sure that was actually stolen by either that was stolen from the Zoroastrians or pretty sure it was the Zoroastrians they stole that from. But it was just like I feel like what that story really wanted to get across was when you get knocked down, you come back up, right? Like if you feel like
right.
you're at rock bottom, you physically like you come back up. You climb yourself back up, and that's the inspiring part. You know, there were even in Daredevil. You know, like the last season of Daredevil on Netflix. I don't know if you guys are into that.
Oh,
I
I've
know.
watched all of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So, but like the entire third season was based on that theme. You know, it was just based on that. Like in the beginning of that season, you know, he was rock bottom. Not only was, I mean, he was always blind, but now he even lost his hearing and his senses. And then like he was so depressed, so lost, and the entire season was him finding himself again. And by the end of the season, he was like stronger than ever, very grounded and calm. And these are what I think, like these are the stories I think people need to develop. That's why I get angry, you know, when people just dismiss superhero stories as if they're meant for children who have nothing better to read, so they give them these boring superhero. Like, no, like they have like a lot of deep ass points that you choose to miss, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the funny thing
Yeah.
is, those same people will take, like, for instance, we're in the U.S., so George Washington, right? He's
Mhm.
upheld as like this great man who's basically like
Right.
people kind of aspire like certain characteristics to him that make him like his own superhero, even though he was a real person. Like he was
Mhm.
always honest and like all this other shit that like may or may not have been true, but we elevate him as like the founder of the country to this level that's like super
Almost religious.
and
Yeah.
almost like unattainable seemingly for for like most people. Like or
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, same thing. There's like certain historical figures that get
Yeah.
the hero treatment,
Yeah.
but people might not view superheroes the same way.
I feel like it's definitely happened to George Washington and the original founding fathers more than it's happened to Abraham Lincoln. Like, you know, you'll see like
Well,
memes
yeah.
online or like T-shirts that like a lot of like like American nationalists wear. You'll see like George Washington basically like on a flying Pegasus holding a sword.
Yeah, yeah,
You know you know what I mean? Like, and you know that's
yeah.
it's funny, but it's just interesting because like George Washington, relatively compared to human history, is like he's pretty like recent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 200 or 300
Mhm.
years ago. I mean, obviously in our lives is like a big, you know, long time ago, but you know, relative to human history, that was like yesterday. You know what I mean? And like
Mm.
we're already like making such a big thing out of him. You know, and hopefully it won't happen with Trump in like 100 years. Like hopefully our grandkids don't have to fucking see like
Yeah.
you
We
know
don't
like
need any more God Emperor memes. We really
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, definitely. But you know
Oh
what though?
god.
I think it goes back to show that human beings, you know, as strong as they are, we also have our weaknesses, and sometimes I feel like we need like human beings just tend to naturally want to follow someone. You know, some of
Mm.
us are like natural leaders, but I feel like a majority of us just want someone to like look up to and worship. And I think that's
Mm.
the Trump phenomena, if you ask me, right? Like I think like that's why so many people literally sacrifice their lives going to one of those risking their lives uh potentially getting COVID to go to his rallies. And they even say it himself, like it's a religious experience being I have to get close to him as if he's fucking Jesus. And obviously, you know, it's just I think that part, unfortunately, it's human nature. And like, I mean, obviously I wouldn't consider Trump a hero by any means.
Right.
And I feel bad for anyone who does, but I mean, for some people, he really does, you know, portray that hero image.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing with like politicians end up getting a similar treatment sometimes depending on their personality or something
Yeah.
they did in office, like the cult of personality, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even terrible leaders historically get the same treatment, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm. Honestly, like the way I like to think of it is like the more quiet and boring you are as a leader, uh you're probably a better politician at that point. Like you're probably like a better
Yeah.
lawmaker at that point because like Donald Trump, for example, like he's mastered the personality. You know what I mean? Like I truly believe that someone like that, uh who he is on camera is completely different than who he is behind cameras. And and I think, you know, he does that on purpose, obviously. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain demographic of people that really, that really like what they see on camera. That weird, fake alpha male, uh, beta personality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but hey, now I don't know. I don't want to like go on a tangent about
Exactly.
Trump,
Yeah.
but
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, intrinsically, I feel like
fuck
human
Trump. Yeah.
beings have want to feel like they're a part of something.
Hmm.
Mhm.
They really do. Intrinsically, we have this instinct to want to feel like we're a part of something. Now, natural born leaders tend to feel like what they're a part of is the movement that they're starting. But most people don't really get behind starting a movement. They follow a movement. And when they see something like a leader or a symbol that they that they're inspired by for one reason or another, then that's when you get that cult of personality, and people look to that because they if it feels what I guess the best way I could put it is like a void in their life, something that they're missing, and they feel
Mhm.
fulfilled by feeling like they're a part of, say, um, these movements, these leaders, this symbolism. It makes them feel like they're a part of something, and I think that's what makes what the what draws them to these causes and to these ideals so strongly. And when you look at because when you look at a leader, all he's really doing is, whether it's genuine or disingenuous, he's appealing to things that people want to hear, things that people want to feel a part of. He's looking at his audience just like the same way that a hip hop artist would look at their demographic and say, okay, this is my audience. What's wrong with them? Why do they feel disenfranchised? Why are they angry? Why? And he starts speaking to them in a language, in a way that they all understand and they flock to. And be it superheroes that were on a positive level, where we're reading comic books or we're seeing movies and stories where a certain person um, connects with the audience with their ideals and what they represent, or be it dealing with real life heroes, or even on the flip side, villains. It's usually something that it's a representation of something that people feel connected to and believe in, whether it's right or wrong. Whether you're talking about somebody like
Yeah.
Gandhi or someone like Hitler, so for example, whether they're on the right side of the spectrum or the wrong side of the spectrum, the people that follow them feel like that's somebody that represents them. It represents their beliefs. It represents their symbolic representation. And
And that person can't be tainted either. Like that's
yeah.
what makes it like interesting, you know. But I'm noticing like for those of for those viewers right now who are watching this on YouTube, if you look at our rooms, you can see behind me there's a Spider-Man mug, and then right here you'll see like Spider-Man and Iron Man right there. And then if you look
Mhm.
at Keith's, you'll see like a little bobblehead of Kratos from God
Yeah.
of War,
Oh yeah.
and yeah. And then I know, like, I did a FaceTime with Farnoosh many times. So, there it is. And I did like FaceTime with Farnoosh many times where like I'll see a poster. I think it's like a Scarface, right? Of Tony
Yeah.
Montana.
I've got a
And
lot of those little bobbleheads by my TV too. They're all stacked there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And no, but again, like I didn't even notice like the bobbleheads that I have right there in
Mhm.
the Kratos. It just all ties into like what we're talking about. Even like I'm not perfect. Like I need those. I like to have people to look up to. I mean, in front of my laptop, there's a huge poster of Tony Montana, and then over there's like a poster of like Eminem. You know what I mean? Like all we always see, and this is the part where I think it's not good. Well, some of it's good, right? It's nothing wrong with looking up to people and aspiring to be like, following their example. But I also think it goes to like show we don't like ourselves. Like, you know what I mean? We don't love, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody, I say in like one of my songs higher, like everybody want to be like someone else, never want to be like, never really want to, I forgot my fucking line, but we don't
I
really
had a
want to.
line. I had a line in one of my songs that was similar too. It said, "I want to live everybody's life except my own."
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like, with all this content that we consume, right? Whether it's social, like the hyper consumption of social media when you're on Instagram and people are posting the highlights of their life on a beach with their partner, and like you think they have it made, or you know what I mean, shit like that, or like you're watching like a Netflix series about a superhero or whatever, whatever you like, or
Mhm.
these movies, right? Like they're not gonna make a movie or show based on a normal life. That's boring. You know what I mean? Imagine if there was like imagine the Truman Show, but like, into like in the form of like a movie.
Mhm.
Like no one would actually. I don't think most people would watch that. Even these reality TV shows that we watch, they're bullshit. They're bullshitting the drama. That's all like thrown in there, by these executives. Most of it's not real. But I think the part is like we're so we tend to think that everyone's life is exciting, but ours is boring as shit.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's the negative side of the heroes, right? Because you
Yeah,
get, on one hand, you can get inspired by them. It can push you to, like, start writing, start making music, working out, playing a sport, whatever the hell,
right.
motivates you.
Hmm.
Or it can turn into a thing where you're worshiping them, but also using it as a way to put yourself down as never being good enough because you're aspiring to
Yeah,
be something that you're not,
yeah.
right? And that can happen not just with heroes, that can happen with people even on, Instagram, like you said. It's a perfect example. Yeah.
But
I
that's
mean,
why they tell you.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, Shahid. I just didn't want to lose my train of
no,
thought
it's
for a
all good.
second because it ties in with what Keith was saying. That's why they say there's a fine line there. It's one thing to be inspired by heroes. There's another thing
Mhm.
to idolize your heroes, because at the end of the day, a lot of these heroes are, when you look at their core, they're human too.
They're
Even when you
human
look at
beings.
even
Yeah.
when you look at the superheroes, they have human being traits. Even Superman has feelings and so forth, and things that he's dealing with. And you get to see, when, especially if it's somebody like another rapper, for example, which I've met tons of times, you get to see like how human they really are when you meet them, and it's like,
Right,
oh, and oh, that's what
right,
the guy's really like. I thought he was like this. So yeah, there's that fine line between
right,
admiring
right,
someone and their work and then idolizing them, and that
Yeah.
there's a huge difference there, and a great divide
right.
when it comes to something like that. But
And I think,
continue.
unfortunately, with the way human nature works, it's like we feel like we need to, especially like if you're an artist or someone who's trying to be some sort of, and when I say influencer, I'm not necessarily talking about Instagram influencers, but just people with like some sort of like basic level of some fame or whatever, right? Recognition or notoriety. I don't know. But sometimes I feel like in order to gain that following, just based on how humans are, you need to kind of play a character. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
people, again, like Takashi 69, right? Like, obviously, like, I don't think there's anyone in this podcast that listens to him or admires him, but there are people who are. But again, he's playing a character. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and sometimes like I wonder like if he were to humanize himself a little bit, would he lose his following? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like people like that. It's like I don't know. I was reading a chapter from 48 Laws of Power the other day, and it was about one of the French kings who tried to really hard to actually make himself look like he's a common man. And because of that, people didn't like him. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy. Like
Hmm.
he like that was his whole brand. He's like, I'm gonna show that I'm like other people, so people could connect with me more and they will like me more. But because he wore like the same type of clothes that everyone else wore, and people hated that. Like people wanted like that godlike king-like figure. And as much, like I said, as much as I hate Trump, Trump understands this very well. Like he plays to that weakness where he tries to make himself seem like this godlike figure. He's like, I am the
Hmm.
best. Like I have a really big brain. I have
And
the,
it's all big league, man. It's big
it's
league.
all bigly. Yeah. Like he, and like, obviously because me and all three of us here are thinking human beings and like we have a lot of self-awareness. Like we're able to see through that. But 99% of all of his supporters like really don't. Like they don't really see that. They're just being conned. And but again, I don't know. I just find it interesting how like it hurts me because I wish human beings were just um stronger than that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that.
It's funny we were talking about that though, because there's I think it's a new Netflix documentary, but it's called The American Meme, and it's about like it's literally about people who became famous posting memes, and it's like it's got like Paris Hilton, the fat Jewish, the slut whisperer,
Yes.
a
Yes,
couple
I've
other
seen it.
people,
I've seen that.
and
Yes.
it was really interesting because those people they talk about the front they have to put on for their fans who almost worship them. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. If anyone who's watching hasn't seen it, I recommend it. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Kind of depressing, but really good.
It's weird.
It's
Like, Justin
crazy.
Bieber. You know what I mean? Like, remember how big
Yeah,
he was like 10
yeah,
years ago? And then like he'd be like getting out of his limousine and like all these like 12-year-old girls be like, oh my God, Justin Bieber. And like
right.
literally
Yeah,
like I mean it's funny, dude, but it's also like it's a terrifying like thing to look at when you see the emotional state of these little girls when they
yeah,
see someone like that. And it's not just little girls and Justin Bieber, but again, Donald Trump. Some people like when they see Donald Trump, it's like a cathartic experience. I was watching, as an MC, I look at YouTube videos of other rappers performing so I can learn. And I see like Eminem's concerts, and I see like 18 to 20-year-old girls sobbing because, oh my God,
mhm.
it's Eminem. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love, I look, I have an Eminem poster right there. I'm a stan, all right? But the point is, is like, I just don't get why we do that as humans. I can't imagine myself like doing that shit. I don't know, man. Like I might get a little emotional because the song itself might resonate with me, but I don't know, man. Is it gonna be like a cathartic, like Osho meditation kind of moment where like you lose it? I don't know.
yeah. I feel like like some people will get like that. Like for me, like I feel like if I met a famous person, I'll just be like, "What's up, man?
Yeah, yeah,
How's
yeah.
it going?" Like I don't put any special status to them just because they're famous. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
still a person. I don't view
right.
them as like an otherworldly being just because they have money or status. And some people, for them, it's like, oh my god, I just thought Jesus. But it's like, I don't,
Yeah,
I don't get that. You know,
yeah, man. And that's why we are Shahs and Kings.
No, I remember when I was probably like in my single digit ages, like
Mhm.
I I
So
remember
we're
like I
talking.
would actually go into like, look at celebrities and go, oh, what if I met them? What if I did this and did that?
Mhm.
And I remember at the time, my father would meet a couple of these people because of his line of work. And he used to tell me all the time, these people are regular people. They'll probably even react better to you if you just treat them like regular people. Then
Right.
I grew up, then I was here in LA, and I actually began to encounter these people, whether it was through my own line of work or just by coincidence. And I did discover, a lot of times when I was just really chill with them, and because that was the way I was brought up to treat them, that they opened up to me more and they were just really cool. Whereas they wanted to get away from most people, they would just talk to me. I remember on one particular occasion, um, I met after a show, I met Crooked Eye from Slaughterhouse,
Oh
and
shit.
I didn't. I have a picture with him. I didn't treat him any differently than anybody else. In fact, I just offered to buy the guy a drink. Next thing I know, I'm chatting with him about stuff that doesn't even have to do with music. So it
That's
just
really
goes
cool.
to show,
Dude,
like
Crooked Eye's a beast.
when you treat people like just like what they are, instead of idolizing them and so forth, they are more receptive to you. Because at the end of the day, even though these people have elevated status, a lot of them would trade something to be able to not have that status as a day and move around just like we do and be treated just like we get treated. So, um, like idolization is it's a pretty, and cult of personality, it's definitely a dangerous slope. So yeah, when I see people that go, oh, like this, and I remember seeing people in videos faint when they saw Michael Jackson from like a mile away.
Mhm.
I question that sometimes. I don't know if I could really do that, and I honestly think that if you get to that level, it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
that's
good
where you
for
get
you
the
as a
yeah,
person.
Yeah.
that's where you get the super fans who like, they shoot the person they idolize and stuff like that. It's like it gets weird. Like people get so caught up in shit that they just become intrusive, and then those people don't want to interact with the public. Like there's a funny story I was reading about in, I think it was after the Harry Potter movies came out, where Daniel Radcliffe, for 6 months straight, whenever he went out, would wear the same outfit so that the paparazzi would stop following him because they thought it was the same old picture.
That's
It was fucking
smart.
hilarious.
Mhm.
That's smart. Yeah. And I mean, paparazzi, like they just do what they do because they think they know it sells. But like again, the question comes down to like, why the fuck does it sell? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like why? I don't know. Like and like like I'll be coming home sometimes and it's like around 5, 6 o'clock. So like my dad's home and he's watching like Inside Hollywood to see like who like what celebrity like is dating who. And I'm like, Dad,
Yep.
why are you watching this, man? Like, why do you care? I feel like, and I feel like with immigrant dads, like me and Farnoosh, like Middle Eastern, like immigrant dads, like I don't know, it's like they go extra hard on that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why. I mean but that's like that's a different story, I guess. But um,
Mhm.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like I cringe at that stuff. The fact that human beings are so into like other people's lives and I mean, even me as an artist, like I'll post like little glimpses of my life here and there because I know like my audience likes it for whatever reason. And
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Well, that's why I try when I do it. Like I try. I mean, like there are times obviously where I post stuff that is obviously relevant to looking good in music and showing how great a musician that I am and all that. But I do try to humanize myself a little bit too. I show them that I eat food just like they eat food.
What?
I show them that I travel to places just like they
Yeah.
want to travel to places. I mean, like at the same time, I want to feel relatable, but at the same time, I also know that like in order to be that person, and to inspire, I still have to
Mm.
have that certain air of, okay, yeah, I'm doing some stuff. But it is important to put that out to everybody that's listening on the podcast. You all have the potential to do that. Everyone has the potential to do that. It's really just a matter of, do you want to get up and realize what it is that you dream about? Do you want to make it a reality? Because if you do that, you in turn become a hero to somebody else. And we
Right.
sometimes don't realize it. We don't have to accomplish huge things. You could be an uncle, for an example, and your little nephew could look at the way that you conduct yourself, even though you're not a celebrity off camera, just see the way that you work hard and the dignity and the respect that you treat people with and the way you carry yourself. And you may not be aware of it, but you could be a hero to just that one person. And it's really important. So we all have the ability to be heroes in a sense.
And it's
We
a
just,
domino effect.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
inspire. I used to look up to a guy, and I know Keith knows him. His name, his name was Elliot Hulse, and
His name still
basic,
is, just
his
for everyone's
his name
information.
still is. Yeah, he didn't change his name yet, but nah, he used to have this thing like like your mission in life is to be the strongest version of yourself, and when you're the strongest version of yourself, you basically elevate the crowd with you, right? And then people will
Mhm.
follow your example. Then they'll become the strongest versions of themselves. And then other people will follow their example, and so on and so forth, right? And it's like a domino effect. He doesn't really have that message anymore, but that's besides the point. But I mean, back to what Farnoosh said, yeah, like you could all be heroes. Um, doesn't again, you don't have to be famous. You don't have to wear a cape. You don't have to know crazy martial art, though that would be helpful. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's what I have to say about that topic. Do you
Yeah.
guys want to say a few more things before we wrap it up?
Yeah. I mean, for instance, like a few years ago, Jaheim would know better than probably Farnoosh because we just met more recently. But I used to be in really good physical shape, and I would post on Instagram pretty often about fitness and going to the gym, and constantly have stories about it with like my playlist, what I was listening to, which was mostly underground rap. Thank God. And um,
Hey man,
yeah,
what's wrong? Well, you tell me you don't listen to 6ix9ine?
I do not listen to
Do
six
you,
nine, and I'm
do
not
you?
afraid to say it. Do
But
not listen to
wow,
him.
wow,
No
man,
Lil
you don't
Uzi
know
Vert over here.
you don't know
No
music.
gummo.
I don't even know who that is.
You tell are you telling me you don't have WAP like on repeat?
Boy, I do not. I do not. But
It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
I would get messages from like supplement companies and like fitness apparel companies after I would post, being like, "Oh, do you want to like be featured on our site and get paid for like sponsorship shit?" And
Yeah,
like, I knew for me personally at the time, like I would probably do it now because there's nothing else to do with COVID going on. But like, if I somehow blew up in that space, I would constantly be under pressure to keep doing that shit. And like if I ever wanted to take a break,
yeah,
I wouldn't be able to. Like if I ever want to like take a
yeah.
rest day, I can't because I got to
Oh
post
yeah,
this person's shirt or drinking this person's fucking fat burner or whatever the fuck it is. And like
yeah.
I don't need
Yeah,
that,
dude. And
right?
me as a rapper, like I relate to that because every day, like I have to, I wake up, I'm like, wait, what the fuck am I gonna post on Instagram today? Or like, you know what I
Oh
mean? And
yeah.
it's like that's the shit that gets tiring. Or and like sometimes like you'll make a song and like people love it. And then like now you're nervous because like, wait, that means the next song has to be better. Right. So you get like
Mm,
so like there's that pressure that just like comes in. But I mean, honestly, like you kind of get used to that. Um, and I'm noticing that as
okay.
my fan base like grows a little bit, but yeah, there's that. Fanders, you want to throw in some last words?
Just in terms of to touch up on what you guys are saying as well, it's like when again, well, I'm just going to stress the fact that we should definitely be able to distinguish not idolizing and our heroes and versus admiring our heroes, because at the end of the day, admiring someone is cool, but where it comes into it, where the divide comes in, is when you admire someone but you don't idolize them. You admire their accomplishments and you are inspired to do the same. It makes you a greater person. When you start idolizing people, that's when you start questioning whether you're good enough or not. And I feel like for people's mental health, it's really important to be able to distinguish between the two, and realize that they have their own self-worth. I can't stress it enough. We could all be heroes. It just takes that step of getting up and getting stuff done. And you in turn will find that someone will follow you too. So
Right. And also, we can all be Shaws, and we can all be kings if we put our mind to it.
Hey,
hey,
There you go.
drum roll. All right. So, all right. Well, that was a perfect way to end. Thanks for today's episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Feel free to leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts. If you like our show and you want, feel free. You're more than welcome to donate to our Patreon or whatever service we end up using for that. And yeah, and again, thanks for tuning in, guys. Until next time.
Thanks, everybody.